Good day, everyone. Before we start this lesson, I'd like to apologize. I'm still currently feeling a bit unwell, and it's reflected in the state of my voice. However, I will still do my best to properly and clearly, to the best of my ability, teach you guys the lesson. So, I do hope at this point you have chosen your research group mates. If not, please feel free to utilize our discussion board available in Blackboard. Choosing your research group mates is a very important part in the success of your future study. But the next thing that bears greater importance is choosing your subject. Now, before we proceed with choosing our subject, we have to understand what research is all about. Research starts with inquiry. Inquiry is the process of seeking truth, information, or knowledge. We gather information and data with the use of various human senses to seek for these three things: truth, information, and knowledge. We do not have this drive to seek any information if we don't inquire, if we don't question whatever it is that's happening around us. With inquiry, it allows individuals to grapple with the different ways of looking at ideas and issues and to think creatively about problems that do not possess a simple answer. It is this inquiry that drives us to do research. Research, by definition, is a systematic investigation and study of materials and sources. Systematic investigation is the key word here. You cannot do research willy-nilly. You have to follow the process. You have to understand its background, understand the problem, um, lay down what are the steps in order to solve this problem to the best of your ability. Once you do the proposed solution, did it work? Were the results intended? Is there more to discuss because of these results? And lastly, you create your own conclusion because research is about problem solving. So, was the problem solved? So, those are a few of the um, those are the steps of the systematic investigation that research is all about. With research, we have to establish the facts first. We have to prove or at least lay down what are the factual things that will eventually lead to future conclusions. It's like saying, the sky is dark, that is a fact. Thus, you will conclude it will rain later. Now, there is a chance that it will not rain, but through the establishment of facts and by raising recurring patterns, let's say the sky is dark today. For the past few weeks, the sky has been dark, and for the past few weeks, it has been raining. So, since the sky is dark today, we can conclude with facts and patterns and other observations made by our human senses and maybe even citations from uh, reliable sources such as, let's say, weather forecasts, we can conclude that it will rain. So that's a very simplified version of research. Of course, research as a subject and as an output, it has to go very deep, but that's the idea of it. With research, we have to develop appropriate solutions to improve the individual's quality of life. Research isn't just looking for new information. It's about the proposal of improvement for society and for the individuals. At the end of your research, the goal is to improve the quality of life. Because that's the point. We're trying to solve a problem. That problem is very likely hindering one's quality of life. It's okay to do a research that does not directly affect you, but there might be passion in doing research in order to solve a problem that has been affecting you. That is one of the drives of research. If you go back to inquiry, we seek for truth, information, and knowledge. With that information and knowledge that we acquire through research, we end up improving lives. So with that, that's research. There's also a lot of definitions with research. Actually, we can also say research is the discovery and creation of knowledge, and it's also theory building. When we say theory building, it's generating a conclusion or generating, or not regenerating, it's observing and solidifying recurring events and patterns with accurate conclusions. So similar to the example of the sky is gray, thus it will rain. You can say that you were theory building at that point. Like, oh, if it's gray, if the sky is gray, then it's very likely that it will rain. So you can test out that theory. Maybe by the time that it starts, uh, let's say, once nagka-gray na yung sky, lalabas ka sa bahay niyo na hindi nagdala ng umbrella. So you're testing your fear. You're banking on your health at that point na I know for a fact that it will rain. So let's see if it won't. So yeah, like you're testing out your theories, and actually you're doing research at that point. You're testing out your hypothesis. So research is also the testing, confirming, revision, and refutation of knowledge as theory. So sama sa example previously, gitest ninyo. Okay, let's try to think of a different example na lang. Kasi whether it's something a bit general, let's try to focus on a different thing. Let's say you want to test out if um, healing from a private Catholic institution is correlated to their inherent belief of superstition. That's a very complicated thing. It's actually very far from MMA. But let's say your hypothesis is if you were in a Catholic institution, you were raised to believe on a higher being. And from higher beings, you might start to believe that certain things that are out of your control is through these higher beings, let's say, will or right or desire. Thus, it's likely that you become more superstitious, even if it's outside of your religion, when it comes to events that are out of your control. So that is your theory. That's your hypothesis. Of course, when you say that, you have to back it up rather with literature, sources, citations, other existing theories. Just to say that I'm not delusional, hear me out. That's how it is. Now you may continue, and then you will continue rather to test this theory to confirm or to revise. So let's say, uh, basta kayo na bahala sa ano pag-test dyan. Pero kunuhay, you want, you tell your friends na, kabalo mo guys, if ganito ganyan ang mangyari. You will test out to see if which of your friends are quick to believe it, which of your friends are quick to refute it, or which of your friends through time will believe it. So again, that's just an example of testing your theory. Research is also used to advance a discipline or field. Research is a source of knowledge. You have to make, or rather, it is that you're making will act as a contribution to that discipline or field. So it's important to make something new. You can't just copy paste something that has already been researched. Kasi what is it that you're contributing? What is it that you're trying to improve if may solution na? It's like let's say in a context of a group activity, may presentation, need ng groupmate niyo ng scotch tape. So may nagdala ng scotch tape, 2 days later, nagdala ka ng scotch tape para sa grupo na ito. It's yes, you've added something, but it didn't contribute to something new and something that can improve the existing discipline or field. Nagdala lagi ka ng scotch tape, pero nabuhat na ang project, kung saan man na to ng scotch tape, mandraga na. So research is also, or rather, it's aligned to the advancements and improvements in various aspects of life. So hindi lang sa discipline or field na san kayo in our context. It's in the discipline of multimedia arts. It's also the advancement and improvement in the various aspects of life. our works as multimedia artists do affect people. Let's say in terms of advertisement, we are affecting or we are influencing people to do a certain thing, to consume a certain product, to follow a certain lifestyle through advertisements. So by doing research, we can look for ways to either advance the persuasive appeal of advertisement or maybe improve the direction of advertisements to improve the aspects of people's lives. So I do want to raise that if ever you do have any questions or concerns that in the middle of this video, I know it's unlike a classroom setting na if may tanong ka, you can then raise your hand. In this case, you can reach out to me in Teams. Privately, you can ask, ma'am, at this point in the video, I was a bit confused. Can you please elaborate? And I will gladly answer you. So just to sum it all up, why do we even do research? If you think about it, aside from it being an academic requirement, research is very significant in our lives. A lot of the things that we're enjoying right now, it's because of research. So here are the few significance of research that you might have overlooked or you will eventually experience. But for now, here are the significance of research. One is to gather necessary info. The other is to improve the standards of living as per the previous slides. Research is also significant in having a safer life. So you can say that this is relevant in the fields of medicine. It's through proper research we find out about appropriate dosage, appropriate prescription, what to expose people to, what are the things to do for people to improve their lives within their own, let's say, control. You can also say that research helps improve like the safer life in the field, or rather research aided in having a safer life in the field of journalism. In journalism, the truth is a very important factor in writing. There is a way to approach topics safely. Kasi, journalists are being a journalist is one of the very life-threatening jobs in the world. So maybe through research, there is a way to acquire and deliver information in a way that will not risk their lives. So parang ganyan lang. Next, research is about knowing the truth, which is why being factual is important. You should not put false claims in your research papers. You should not put debunked information in your research paper because your research is there as a beacon of truth. What would happen if someone were to use your research as a citation for their research? What you're doing is spreading false information. So with research, the goal is to know the truth, and you as the researcher, you have to put in the truth. So I think it's already connected with the first bullet na research is about gathering necessary information because there is the goal to know the truth. So once you gather that information, you have to say the truth. You have to tell the truth. Research is also about exploring our history. You'll be amazed na even if your study isn't about history, whatever has happened in the prior years and the prior decades affect rather your research today. So by doing research, inevitably you find out more about our research. I really apologize about my voice. I really can't control how it ebbs and flows. So yeah. Lastly, this is relevant for us multimedia artists. Research is about understanding arts. Now it might seem very let's say disconnected. Mom, research is a very writing heavy, logical, technical, academic type of writing. How is it connected to understanding the arts? Aside from the corny answer of there is art in writing, arts is about expression. Arts can also be about reflection of society. And isn't research reflecting what's happening in society? Research can also be used to be tailored towards arts. You can use research to understand why art is the way it is. So, parang ganyan. So now that you know what research is all about, let's now look at the things that you should consider when choosing a topic. First and foremost, is the interest in the subject matter. Now, this is where picking your group mates is important. All four of you, all three to four, must have must have a similar interest to work together on. Kumbaga, with interest in the subject matter, there is motivation and enthusiasm. This research paper that you will make, it will be brought over to thesis. So you will be committing at least, or let's say, a range of 2 to 3 years on this paper. So it might as well be something you're interested in. So let's say in a group of four, let's say in a hypothetical group of four, one is interested in photography, one is interested in cinematography, one is interested in graphics or graphic design, and the other is interested in sound design. Now, what will be their common denominator there? Maybe for film and cinematography, the common denominator would be film, video, yeah, and like the audiovisual outputs. How about the person interested in graphic design? How about the person interested in sound design? Will they have to trudge through these years with a topic they're not interested in? It would be very likely that these two hypothetical members would eventually start pulling away from the group or would be the uninterested people. They would be very passive. In order to encourage motivation and enthusiasm, it's better to pick a subject matter that all of you are interested in or all of you are willing to devote their time in. Next is the availability of information. When choosing your topic, you must be able to get information about it from updated books, websites, and other sources. Now, there are things to consider when analyzing how available information is for that topic. First is, what are the copyright dates? So, how or when was this study made? When was this information published? What were the trends of information back then that might have influenced how this study or how this topic was delivered? Let's say you're making a study on uh let's say it's about sexuality in film. If you pick a study from, let's say, an older time, from the 50s to the 60s, it's very likely that the gender expression that they will only consider is homosexuality and heterosexuality. Actually, it's not even gender, it's a sexuality pala. So, if you were to if your scope involved asexuality, transsexuality, you will not get that type of information during those types of copyright dates because at that time period, it wasn't as acknowledged. And even then, there were a lot of stigmas. So, unless you move into, let's say, around 2010s, acceptance was now starting to become more common. It was now acknowledged, but medyo may hesitancy pa sa acceptance in the general society. Really sorry for all the stuttering. Um, you might see a rise of the study, and maybe you might see the introduction of asexuality, transsexuality, intersex, and those studies. So those are that is why you have to consider the copyright dates. You also have to think about the revisions. It's possible for a study made in 2010 to be updated in 2021. So with that, you have to consider what was cited back then and what is cited recently. So you can say that information would now be available. However, you also have to consider how old or new that study is. In order for it to be valid, the study can only be until 5 years ang kakaraan niya. Or rather, to rephrase, 5 years is the furthest that you can go when picking a scholastic study as a source. So it's now 2024. That means that the oldest study that you can get is from 2019. So from 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, and 2024, that is the range that you can pick your sources from. However, there is an exception. You can go older than 2019, let's say by 10 years. So from 2024, 2014. You can go further than 2014 or you can reach 2014 if there are limited studies about the subject. However, that's a bit of a red flag na. Okay, not really red flag, let's say pale pink or what. It means that your study or the topic isn't frequently looked at. Thus, it will risk the availability of information. So if it was last studied back in 2016, then maybe you can argue that you're updating existing bodies of information, and that's good, that's fine. But remember, you need to have the backing of factual information to proceed with your study. Whatever, let's say that your study is based on the technological advancements in video games. The video game quality of 2016, or rather the quality of video games back in 2016, it's very different from the quality of video games now in 2022. Of course, you might argue, ma'am, there are still games back in 2014 that are better in quality than those right now in 2024. And yes, I know there are games that I play back then that look better than the games I play now. But it still raises the question, or rather, there's still the problem of the technology back then is very different from the technology now. Technology is rapidly improving. Can you say there's still a one-to-one on whatever they are saying being applicable to whatever it is happening right now? So let's say back in 2009, the concept of touchscreen being a touchscreen devices being available by people outside of businesses, it wasn't really that accepted or it wasn't as believable. Now we all have touchscreen cell phones in our pockets. So that's one of the things to consider about being about how old or new they are. There's also one exception, and it is when it comes to choosing your theories. There are theories that really fit well with your subject, but it was made back in 1930s. That's fine, as long as there are more recent studies that are using it as a reference. It means it's old but gold. So let's say you found a study back in 2014, 2019, and 2021 that is using a theory back in 1920s to back up their study as a theory. So this isn't for your related literature. This isn't for your introduction. Okay, maybe kind of a bit for the introduction, but it's mostly for the theories. If those studies that are recent and reliable are using an old theory, an old source to back up their information, then maybe there is truth and a timeless information in that study. Then kana pwede na siguro. But I will notice that and I will raise it. Ngano ka ni man, you have to prove it to me. You have to defend it. Now, lastly, you have to consider how qualified the authors are. So, if the author of your study is a professor, if the author of your study is an expert in their field, a researcher, good like by profession, then you can see that they are very qualified. If let's say you're looking for a study on film, tapos the author is a director. Okay, sige, let's dig deeper. Kasi porket director, hindi naman ibig sabihin dun, magaling na talaga sila sa field nila. May deep theoretical understanding na sila sa field nila. If you look deeper into the director's background, let's say you discover that they have been making films for a decade now. They've had accolades to their names. They've had films sent abroad. Okay, so whatever it is that they're writing, there must be truth to this. I know this is an appeal to professionalism, but there is a bit of truth ringing there. Compared if you see a study, it's written by a director, but they have been within the industry for 6 months, and the most that they have made is a short film, and that short film flunked so bad. So it you might question the validity of whatever it is they are saying. Also, let's say you're looking for website sources. You found an old WordSpot article made in 2008, tapos it was just made by a blogger who writes for fun. Now that is definitely not a reliable source. Aside from there's no problem with WordSpot. It's a bit iffy. It really depends on the content, but the fact that it was made in 2008 rather, and made by a blogger who just writes for fun, it shows lack of dedication towards the field. It's possible that whatever it is they are writing, it's very surface level lang. With research, we really have to go deep. So, in order to find good information, we also have to look for it from good authors. So, next is the timeliness and relevance of the topic. Remember, let's go back. Research is about improving the standards of living and advance and improve the various aspects of life. Choosing timely and relevant topic assures us that whatever it is that you're writing, it is about issues or problems that are happening today. Thus, you are creating results or you are going to show results that are applicable today. Being timely and relevant will eventually yield results that lead to social improvement. Tapos, who would want to read anything or who would want to write anything that will not directly affect them? Let's say you are making a study on about the computers with like yung mga malaking computers yung may likod pa sila. Tapos yung research mo about um the technical disparities of the ports sa mga computers doon. Even if it is a source of information, it does raise the question na why would you make the study na almost no people are using these types of monitors. So yeah, it's irrelevant for people at that point. So try to pick something that's timely, that's relevant. Let's say you're making a study about the the state of art, the state of illustrative art or illustration arts during the time of COVID to reflect the feeling of being stuck at home. Kumbaga, that's not a research approved title, but kunuhayan yung topic ninyo. It raises the question of timeliness. Like, why are you making the study? It has been years since COVID, like 4 years. My God, it's been 4 years since COVID. uh, People are not stuck at home. We can go wherever we want. We can makalaag na ta. That's the reason why we have face-to-face sessions. So why are you making this topic? What is it that's happening today that made it, or what is it that's happening today that makes that topic relevant? So next is the limitations on the subject. So when we say limitations on the subject, it's about linking your chosen topic with your course requirements. So you have to choose a topic that is aligned with MMA, aligned with multimedia arts. So you can choose a study within the fields of film, cinematography, graphic design, uh, illustration. You can also consider sound design. Sound design is also a thing. We have an elective acting and directing for animation. So maybe, yeah, an animation. We can even consider motion graphics. So there are so many topics under MMA that you can work with. So it has to be within the topic. So a, a big issue or one of the common problems I have experienced as a teacher when checking topics, a lot of it tends to only have MMA as a detail. Tapos they have something bigger as the main subject. Like, for example, the realm of psychology. It's a very common issue. you're looking at a topic with psychology as a focus and then MMA as a minor detail, when it should be MMA as a focus and then psychology as a detail. So rather than saying the emotional effects of visual arts and ano in affecting the academic motivation of a student, it does raise the question, how is this MMA? Sure, you added in visual arts, but the focus is very psychological in nature, academic in nature. Where is art here? Like, where is art in the focus? So maybe you can reflect it as analyzing the artistic outputs and the elements bakaha to show details of uh ano nga yung example ko prior, to reflect na nakalimutan ko na yun na nasabi ko. But yan. So try to reframe it to have art as the focus. Dapat hindi psychology, dapat hindi education, dapat hindi sociology, kasi we're not studying those majors. We're studying MMA. You can also say, I'm really sorry about that. You can also say that your limitations on the subject might be your own limitation. Like, ma'am, I am very, very bad at graphic design. So don't choose a topic about graphic design. If your group mates are all aligned towards let's say towards film, then choose a topic about film. Like don't pick a grand topic that you are not good at. So it's linked back to the first topic or to the first bullet, interest in the subject matter. Now, last is the personal reason. So, medyo connected naman din sa limitations on the subject. So, you have to consider your research abilities, the financial, mental, and physical capabilities. So, if may study kayo, let's say you are going to see how the environment of Region 9, char, reflects the artistic details added by their artist, charing. Nya na ba mo'y kwarta para ana, makaya ba sa inyong lawas, mga to grade 9, tas balik pa mo para sa klase. Ay gyud ingon na mag-absent mo, kadi na pwede. You still have your commitment as a student to come up to class or to come into class. Don't also choose a topic that's well beyond your financial capability. So, as much as possible, try to reduce unnecessary purchases. Ayaw mo pag kanang mag-rent out mo o kanang let's say mag-rent out mo entire study space to make your paper na ano that requires you to be within the exposure of this thing. So medyo like makaya ba? Makaya ba na ninyo? It's a grand topic, but can you do it? I don't I also don't want you guys to use research as a reason na manglaag-laag mo. Ano na yan? Selfish reason na yan. Hindi, that's well beyond personal reason. So when choosing a topic, ayaw huna-huna, halo, makalaag mi kung buhat na mo ni. Okay, come on, let's control ourselves. At this age, dapat na namoy sense of consequence, na namoy sense of responsibility. If kabalo mo kung kanin yung buhaton, it's very unlikely na mag-study mo, even if i-delude ninyo yourself, ha, dili man, makatrabaho lagi ta. Better steer yourself away from it na. Now we have discussed the topics to consider. Now let's discuss the topics to avoid. First and foremost, controversial topics. This is a YMMV moment, or rather, your mileage may vary. Whatever it is controversial may depend on the writer. But we have to consider the general populace na lang. If it's about topics that are generally triggering, so I mean it in the serious way, not in a triggering na kanang how it is usually used now in social media. If it's typically triggering, better to avoid it. I'm not saying it should not be researched on, it should not be studied on, but this isn't the time and platform to do it. This requires professionals with the skill and emotional capability to handle it appropriately. The controversial topic really depends on the writer's opinion. Let's say abortion. Let's say you're very driven about being against abortion. If you do a study on abortion, you might end up being biased. Even if you are faced with information that contradict your point, baka magkaano kayo. I forgot the term there. Yung may difference sa information, cognitive bias. I forgot. I'll just get back to that. Pero once you're faced with information that you might have gathered during the research process or data gathering process that contradict your own opinion, there will be a chance that you might ignore that information entirely or be so hostile towards that information that your research is no longer reliable. And at the same time, being opinionated might end up having you favor opinions or facts that correlate with your opinion rather than acknowledge the contradictory facts. So, once again, opinions can't be supported, or rather, hindi man sa opinions can't be supported, but there might be opinions that you will put in your paper that facts can't support. So, anything you write down, you have to back it up with facts, with citations. Next are the highly technical subjects. Remember, guys, you are still in undergrad, you're still third year students. Let's try to avoid things that are too complicated. Try to avoid things that are difficult for beginners. Try to avoid concepts that will require 7 years to make. That's no longer a smart way of going through it. Next is the hard to investigate subjects. This is related to this. Where was it? Let me just go back. Ito. The second bullet, the availability of information. If you cannot access the topics or information to defend your paper or to support your paper, then it is too hard to investigate. Next is broad subjects. If you pick two subjects rather than too broad, you cannot give a concentrated analysis. You will have no direction to your paper. Last, or rather, not last, hand in hand with this is picking subjects that are too narrow. So you are limiting yourselves too much that uh, the reader will have to be very specific. Let's say na, how do I say, research should be accessible kasi to the public. If it's too specific, only a few people will read that paper. It has to be a topic that a lot of people can click with, a lot of people can relate with, or maybe it's a topic that a lot of people can wrap their head around. Kasi once magka-narrow na ka, o sa imo kang subject matter, it's, ano na, it will be something for higher learning na. It would be something that is too hard to investigate. And it will limit yourself from picking information. Kasi what if nangita mo og information back in the 70s on black and white film based on Thai comedy made by this specific director. There are too many things to consider na at that point na naga-contradict or naga-really cut na sa inyong sources. Now, next is the vague subjects. So, when it comes to picking subjects, you have to be clear and accurate on what you want to see. Vague subjects prevents clear focus kasi from the subject. As you go through your research, there are times where you will think to yourself, ay, unsa gito ang subject? Ay, unsa gani ang direction sa mong study? Unsa di ang focus sa mong study? What I'm doing, is whatever it is that I'm doing right now, still relevant to the study? It is through vague subjects that you will get these questions. Kasi if clear yung direction ninyo, clear yung goals ninyo, clear kung ano yung focus ninyo, you can redirect yourselves whenever you if ever you stray yourself away from your research focus. So now you know what are the topics to choose and you know what topics to avoid. Where can you get these topics now? So there are so many sources. These are just a few. First are the mass media communication. So look around you, look at social media, look at the internet. There are so many things happening there that you can pick from. Now, do remember to pick when picking your topic, there has to be a problem to solve. Sa daming problema sa world, I'm pretty sure you can pick one there. It's just a matter on where to look for it. So ito yon. You can go through the internet, sa mass media, books, internet, peer-reviewed journals, government publications. You can use those as a source of topics in a sense that you can revamp, you can improve, or you can build upon these existing topics. Let's say there was a study back in 2017 that discussed, let's say, the cinematic quality of games today, Char. Let's say you want to build on that. You want to connect how the technological advancements and accessibility improves the quality even more. Or let's say, uh, on the cinematic quality, you pointed out that while AAA games have these quality, it's the smaller companies who have passion, kumbaga, have better storyline. Kumbaga, so like, all of those things, kunuhay lang ng mga variables that you built upon from an existing peer-reviewed journal. So you also have to mention that na, based on this study, blah, 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 the researchers have decided, or the researchers uh, built upon this source of information to introduce a new variable to update it according to the current state of technology. So, ganyan ganyan. Professional periodicals, so yung mga makikita ninyo sa published websites, you can look at for local studies, you can look at studies from UP, Ateneo, De La Salle, UST. There's so many ano na po, universities that have published their researches and made it available online, so you can look there. You can also look for studies made within the industry. Uh, you can also look for studies made by other professionals that have a link to MMA. Next is the general periodicals. So mga newspaper lang, mga magazine. Who knows? You might find something there. And next is work experience. So if you have direct experience within the industry, you might have noticed certain issues. And from those issues, you can get the topic na why is it when clients are offered unlimited revisions, ganitong behavior nila, ha, hep hep, professional, medyo ano na yan, psychological. Let's revise it. Why is it when, tawag nito, when you market yourself, ito, marketing is a very vague area, but there is marketing in MMA. When you market yourself with these topics or with these conditions, it's these types of clients na nag-attract ninyo. Then, let's say these clients don't consider your art style or what. So, bakit kaya? Like, you can raise your own questions at work and you can make that into a research. So, those are just the introductions in picking the topic. So in the next video, I will then discuss the introduction. What is in chapter 1? So this will be released, this video will be uploaded soon. But for now, I do hope that you have understood the lesson for today about picking your thesis subject. So take this time to um, brainstorm with your members in the Excel file. It is asked that you write down at least three tentative titles or kung ano yung subject focus niya. The deadline for that would be next week pa. So you still have time to think about it. You still have time to look for your members. Who knows, maybe the initial groupings that you've made do not correlate with your interest pala, so there's still time to swap around. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me in Teams. Always, please check instructor information and the course syllabus for details on how to properly reach out to me and your other instructors. Please follow the status message at Teams and give myself time then to respond to you. I can't promise na immediately or immediate yung response ko, but I will try my best to answer as quick as I can. So with that, thank you everyone and have a good day.